ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says his party is at its weakest since the dawn of democracy. He says corruption, maladministration and state capture are all dividing and fracturing the ANC. The country's economic trajectory is expected to be high on the agenda at the Sixth Policy Conference, with Eskom's woes expected to dominate discussions. Ramaphosa says the Sixth ANC Policy Conference in Nasrec, south of Johannesburg, will enforce accountability more effectively. So earlier, our reporter SAMKELE MASEKO spoke to Provincial Secretary of Gauteng, Nciza, and BHEKI Mtolo, who is a Provincial Secretary of Kwazulu-Natal. Take a look at the conversation.
Younger leaders within the ANC are emerging in the various provincial conferences that have sat. Gauteng was the first province to elect Nciza as the Provincial Secretary of Gauteng, amongst other junior leaders and younger leaders of the ANC, such as Mtolo as the Deputy Provincial Secretary. You go to KwaZulu-Natal, a younger generation which was disbanded by then ANC Youth League leader Julius Malema, which was leading the Youth League. Boniso Duma, then Provincial Secretary, BHEKI Mtolo, then the Deputy Provincial Secretary of the Youth League, subsequently now have been elected as Chairperson and Provincial Secretary of the biggest province of the ANC, sitting with over 240,000 members, that is KwaZulu-Natal. They are here present at this year's policy conference, wanting the ANC to be re-energized and for the policies of the ANC to be as radical as that of the Youth League of 2011, of a clarion call for all economic freedom fighters, economic freedom in our lifetime. Mr. Nciza, Mr. Mtolo, thank you for joining us. The essence of your struggle as a younger generation within the ANC, you're no longer Youth League leaders, you are now rightful leaders of the ANC. What outlook would you want to see on an organizational and specifically on the Economic Transformation Subcommittee Commission of the ANC coming out of this policy conference, Mr. Nciza?
Firstly, let me say morning to your viewers at home. This policy conference, one of the critical things that it must look to is making sure that we implement the resolutions of the African National Congress taken in 2017. We are here to review that. We know it's a recommendation to the National Conference. Our people are living in squalors. We spoke about State Bank. We have not established it. We don't know where we are. Health insurance fund and many other issues that we spoke to. The issue of land, we can't be speaking about nil. We say expropriation of land without compensation. That's what we said. We want to understand, an enabler like SAA. Why would we want it to go down like it has? We've spoken very strong on the issue of the e-tolls that are affecting the people of South Africa and the people of Gauteng specifically. The migration issues are affecting our people. Our policies must be clear on that. The illegal immigrants that are roaming around are a problem. The high level of crime, we're not necessarily saying it's immigrants that are doing that, but we're saying that we can't track some of the people that are doing serious violent crime in this country. Some of these things must be, we must speak to them without fear or favor. So we're here to re-energize our African National Congress. We can't, people when they look for electricity, they look at government. They will not look at private companies. Why would we want to negate such a critical responsibility that the government must put into its shoulders? We are a developing country. We are not a first world country, so why would we want to behave that we must not carry our people? We don't agree with some of the things that are happening. Unbundling of Eskom, what are you saying to people of Wheatbank and many other areas that depend on coal? When we speak about mixed energy as the African nation, it's our policy. You speak about only renewable energies and you want to phase out things that have got serious value. We can mine, for the next 300 years. It's there. Even if you go to parts of Europe, with what would have happened between Russia and the war that is happening there, many parts of Europe are starting to import coal from South Africa. We want to move away from what is one of the most critical things that we spoke to. We spoke about nationalization of mines. We want to close them down. It can't be that we want to do that as this African National Congress. So we are here to try and make sure that this economy is going back to our people. We've been speaking about it for the longest of time. So the radical ideas that we have had then, we have them now. But we want to make sure that this ANC belongs to the people and it fights for the people of this country. We are going to be found on the side of the people.
Mr. Mtolo, your conference resolution and declaration, you specifically went back to economic freedom in our lifetime, which was your resolution as the ANC Youth League. You spoke about the issue of coal as well and the energy and Eskom privatization that is seemingly taking place, issues of neoliberal policies that are seemingly taking posture within the ANC day by day. As KwaZulu-Natal, on a policy perspective, what are you bringing to the table?
No, thanks very much. I think we are one with Gauteng, as the Provincial Secretary of Gauteng have said, that you can't, for example, move away from coal and unbundle Eskom, which is the biggest electricity producer in the country, in fact in Africa. But I can tell you now, SAMKELE, if you move away from coal, people of Mpumalanga, 90% will be unemployed. There will be no activity. You will be destroying Mpumalanga, but the rest of the country, because every person in the whole country, in the Eastern Cape, in KwaZulu-Natal, and in various provinces works in Mpumalanga. You will be causing a catastrophic. But as TK is saying that in Europe, for example, Germany and other countries are moving away from renewables because they are not sustainable. They are moving back to coal as a base load of electricity. But what is happening in Eskom is even very painful and worse, because we are producing coal, we are exporting quality coal to other countries and put a nonsensical coal to our systems in Eskom with the intention to deliberately collapse the coal power plants in Eskom, huge maintenance. And it has been proven by science. Various experts have said, if Eskom is given a quality coal, first grade coal, then you will even reduce the production of carbon emissions from 30% to 10%. Then the issue of renewables is a farce. It's something that is not there. For example, the people of Gauteng, they've been complaining. The standard of living in Gauteng is high, Samge. An ordinary teacher who works in Pretoria, who stays in Soweto, spend almost 60 to 65% of his or her salary on transport. Because the fuel prices, this leadership that is at the helm of the ANC now, which was elected in 2017 and entered government in 2018, the price of fuel was approximately 13 rand, some few cents. Now it has doubled to 27 rand. This policy conference must resolve those issues. If the president closes on Sunday and it does not tell South Africans what this policy conference is saying about reducing the standard of living and deliberately interventions of the democratic state that he leads to make sure that the price of fuel, there's a deliberate intervention, I think we would have failed the people of South Africa. The issue of standard of living, if you go to KZN, for example, an ordinary policeman who works at Tongati, who stays in Umlazi, can't afford a living, spends 75% of his salary on transport. It can't, it's not sustainable. Now the middle strata, police, your teachers, your nurses, their houses are repossessed. Their cars are repossessed. They can't afford school fees. They can't afford municipal bills. They are working, going to work, but they are like not working. But it's even worse to other low-level individuals. Person who stays in Wamashu, who works at a CPD, who's a cashier at Woolworths, can't afford. I can tell you now, some of the people, they don't are aware that in this country, there are people who works very good. When you look at their cashiers in various shops, they are staying in shacks because they can't afford to rent a simple bachelor flat. Because a simple bachelor flat is around 4,000, 3,000, then he's earning 8,000 already. She can't afford. Then he stays in a flat. When you buy there, you think it's a decent person, it's fine, looks good, but he stays in a shack. Then the issue of land. The issue of land is not only about issues of farming. In Gauteng, for example, and in metros, if you go to eThekwini, the issue of land is all about spatial planning, issues of provision of houses and human settlement, issues of making sure that you increase the provision of healthcare, hospitals. If you want to build a hospital, for example, in eThekwini, the Department of Health gave us a report that they need an extra 3 big hospitals, but there's no land. There's no land. Land is held by private individuals. Some of them, they don't even stay in South Africa. They stay in Germany, in France, and all that. Then the issue of land is not about farming. It's about making sure that it responds to the challenges that are faced by our people. In Gauteng, it's even worse, SAMKELE. The issue of land in Gauteng is needed to be solved as of yesterday. Then you resolve it in 54th National Conference. Then you go there, you water down the resolution. Parties that we know that traditionally they have supported us, but they can't support because they know the resolution. The resolution of the ANC are well known. They are on the website. But when they see that the party depart from its own resolution, that's why parties, for example, like EFF, will neglect us because they can see that we are sugarcoating this thing. But let me say something. Let's leave the expropriation of land without compensation in terms of the amendment of Section 25. What has held the expropriation bill? The expropriation bill, what has hold? Few people know in this country, the Constitutional Court has resolved that in terms of expropriation, if you expropriate, once you expropriate a land as an expropriating authority, what you will go to determine in court is issue of price. Once you issue a 90-day expropriation notice, on the 90-day, the land belongs to the state. When the owner of the property differ with the expropriation in terms of because you can't differ with expropriation, will differ with the price. You take the money that you are offering, put it in an investment account. You can start use the land on your own public interest objectives. Then what will be determined by court is the price. What has held the expropriation bill to be not passed in Parliament, because it does not need two-thirds majority expropriation bill. It needs 50% plus one. ANC's got 57%. What has held the ANC to bring the expropriation bill? There's no political will to serve the people of South Africa, to change their lives. Then this political conference is here to recommend. But let me tell you something, this political conference is structured in such a way that it's not like a national conference where 90% of voting delegates come from branches. Don't expect any mass from the political conference, but I can assure you, whatever we are holding, our views will pass in the national conference, because in the national conference is the highest decision-making body. It's got muscle. It's got muscle. All of us were there. We are subject and subordinate of the national conference. And there is branch delegates which constitute 90%. I can tell you all our proposals will see the light of the day in the national conference. And from now, as provinces, we will be clear. We will be assessing our leaders that we think they can form part of the National Executive Committee. And we are very clear. We will only support your name if you support policies that will fundamentally change the lives of the people of South Africa. It can't be, SAMKELE, that black people are 80% or plus in this country. But when you talk about poverty, you talk about them being 80%. When you talk about unemployment, unemployment is got color, is black people in general, colors, Indians, and Africans in particular. It can't be. We have been in charge for 28 years. We must change the status quo. It's either we change the status quo or we hang the boots.
Gentlemen, we are out of time. I'm going to ask you direct questions to each one of you. It's one question. Has the ANC leadership pandered and sold out to the capitalist class?
Not really that they've sold out to the capitalist class, but there is a feeling from branches and the mass that we are too massaging the capitalist class. For example, in this conference, you can see that the only obsession is that the media, it must be drummed that no, for example, KZN is worried about step aside, and then we would cross step aside. We are not worried about step aside. We are saying the step aside hinder the ANC's ability to champion. All these things we are saying, it's all because the step aside, SAMKELE, is all about ANC members. It's got nothing to do with the people of South Africa. I can tell you, Ace has been on the step aside, Zandile has been on the step aside, Sibe has been elected in Mpumalanga, he has been removed. Tell me, are the people who were unemployed before they were elected employed now? No. Are the people whom I'm talking about who were worried about it in Gauteng are not worried? They are still worried. Then the step aside, whatever happens on the step aside, it does not affect the people. The people, they don't care about step aside. They want their lives to change and be better.
Mr. Nciza, your take?
Without any doubt, our belief is that we're dragging our feet, and it is affecting the African National Congress. It's affecting our people, because we must champion the interest of our people, the working class, the middle class. Comrade Mtolo has spoken about the middle strata, that we are not offering anything. It must change. That's why the issue of the state bank, especially for us here in Gauteng, is very critical, because we have created such a strong middle strata, but what is our offering as the African National Congress? It's nothing. So it is important that we come out of here with clear proposals that are speaking to all these classes that were speaking. When was the last time we spoke about labor brokers who have neglected the workers? It's a problem. We are not speaking to all those things, and we are saying this conference must look into all of those things. We must be biased to our people, the working class in particular. So where we are, we don't believe our leadership has held out, but we believe that our leadership needs a bit of push. We will, of course, support leaders that understand that it must be about us now.
That is the Provincial Secretary of Gauteng, Nciza, and Mtolo, Provincial Secretary of Kwazulu-Natal, former ANC Youth League leaders, that of that generation, which has been dubbed the last glorious ANC Youth League generation, which pushed for economic freedom in our lifetime, which has 7 cardinal pillars, which have since been adopted by the EFF. They are not negotiating on land expropriation without compensation, nationalization of mines, state bank, amongst a few, and also saying the ANC must go back to its traditional base and make sure that it services those people. When ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa closes on Sunday, Mtolo says he would have failed as the ANC and its leadership if they don't address the issue of escalating fuel prices, escalating cost of living. Inflation is high. The Reserve Bank just hiked up interest rates. So they are saying address the needs of the people and not so much be focused on the capitalist class.
Right, that's the latest coming in from Nasrec there. And of course, there's more coming up after the break here on the agenda. We also take you to the Free State.